Hey everybody, tonight's video is called The Highway to Holiness, and tonight we continue our pass-through study here in the book of Isaiah, where we're going to be looking at the restoration of the land and of the people. And so we're going to be in Isaiah chapter 35, and it's a very short chapter, so this video should not be a half hour in length, but we never know. In Isaiah 35 verse 1 and 2 starts out, "The wilderness and the wasteland shall be glad for them, and the desert shall rejoice and blossom as they rose. It shall blossom abundantly and rejoice, even with joy and singing. The glory of Lebanon shall be given to it, the excellence of Carmel and Sharon. They shall see the glory of the Lord, the excellency of our God." So, dramatic changes in the land are to come during the Messianic age, as we covered back in Isaiah chapters 30, verse 23 through 25, and Isaiah 32, verse 15 through 20. In the presence of the Spirit of God transforms nature and the people when he restores what has been corrupted by sin. And trusting in the nations makes the fruitful land barren, but trusting in the Lord makes a barren land fruitful. And the crocus wasn't the ugly Crocs. It almost sounds like, makes you think of Crocs when I say crocus. It wasn't the ugly sandals that some people wear today, but a desert flower that blooms with the coming of rain of every spring. And in verse 2, Lebanon, Carmel, and Sharon are areas near the sea noted for their agricultural fertility. And Israel was to recognize the earth's newfound fruitfulness as coming from the Lord and tribute to him the appropriate credit. And the real glory belongs to the Lord, not the most fruitful places on earth. And Judah was restored after the invasion of the Assyrians was turned back. And we see the promises true through modern day Israel. And for premillennialists, after the Great Tribulation and Battle of Armageddon, God's going to restore the ecology of the world, as we discussed back in Isaiah chapter 11, verse 6 through 9. In verse 3 and 4, it says, "Strengthen the weak hands and make firm the feeble knees. Say to those who are fearful-hearted, be strong, do not fear. Behold, your God will come with vengeance, with the recompense of God. He will come and save you." So in contrast to the abundant Edom that's to become a desert, as seen in the last chapter on, I think it was Friday? During the Messiah's reign on earth, the whole world is to become as a flourishing garden. And this will offer encouragement to the weak. And the future change in Israel's international role is to serve, to encourage the discouraged from among the people. And the strengthening of weak hands and feeble knees is the issue of fear, not directly tiredness. And in verse 4, the vengeance of God is to furnish the means to redeem his long oppressed people of Israel. And God will bring complete deliverance to the oppressed and establish justice on earth. And in the earlier chapters, the Lord's coming with vengeance was bad news of coming judgment on his own people. And this announcement, he comes to save. In our present trials, we need the strong hope of the Lord to overcome our fearful hearts. And our fearful hearts are not helped by vain or vague optimism, speak positivity, whatever. They are helped by the assured confidence that Christ will come and save. In verse 5, "Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf shall be unstopped." So this is to reverse the spiritual condition of the immediate objects of Isaiah's ministry, as we saw back in Isaiah 29, verse 18, and Isaiah 32, verse 3. And when God's salvation comes, miraculous power comes with it. And it's a miracle for the blind to see. It's a miracle for the deaf to hear, for the lame to run, and for the mute to speak. But when Jesus come and save you, he does it with miraculous power. And when John the Baptist was in prison, he became discouraged. And we're going to discuss John the Baptist more in our wrap-up. But verse 6 and 7, it says, "Then the lame shall leap like a deer, and the tongue of the dumb sing." Oh, I didn't know the Bible called me dumb, because I like to try to sing. But, "For waters shall burst forth in the wilderness, and streams in the desert. The parched ground shall become a pool, and the thirsty land springs of water, and the habitation of jackals, where each lay, there shall be grass with reeds and rushes." So water was, and water is, precious commodity of Israel, as seen later in Isaiah 41 verse 18. And in the millennium, there will be no water bans, as there will be no scarcity of water. There will be plentiful water. And right now, in the summertime, you probably have a water ban in your area or your community. And the rocky crags, normally inhabited by jackals in Isaiah 34 verse 13, are to become as splashy meadows. In verse 8, it says, "A highway shall be there, and a road, and it shall be called the Highway of Holiness. The unclean shall not pass over it, but it shall be for others. Whoever walks the road, although a fool, should not go astray." And we're not talking about AC/DC here, the Highway to Hell, that the song is very popular about. We see the Highway of Holiness. And as Christians, we need to take the Highway of Holiness. And the Highway of Holiness refers to the way leading the redeemed back to Jerusalem, the throne of the Messiah, literally and spiritually. And Christ himself is the leader on that way, called in Isaiah 40 verse 3, the way of the Lord. And the image here combines a safe return from exile with a safe pilgrimage journey to Zion. And today, for us in America, we take highways for granted. Highways are just a part of normal life, typically for getting to work or maybe going to church, so on, so forth. And at this time period, highways were a blessing for travel, progress, and business. The key thing is to stick to the Lord's ways. In verse 9, it says, "No lion shall be there, nor any ravenous beast go up on it. It should not be found there, but the redeemed shall walk there." And so that's verse 10, where "and" starts at. "But no beast are to threaten the safety of those traveling the highway of holiness." And we should note the redeemed in the first 39 chapters is only mentioned rarely, as those chapters are the major theme of the first 39 chapters is judgment. And you're going to notice terms for redemption will occur frequently, starting in chapter 40, which we'll be crossing into that in the next few weeks. And the redeemed early on is mentioned in Isaiah 127 and Isaiah 29 verse 22. And we see on the lion and the ravenous beast. When you go to the book of Leviticus 26:22, it shows that wild animals are part of the covenant curse. And as we stay on God's highway of holiness, we are protected from the attacks of the lion. And in our wrap-up, we will discuss who is given the image of a lion. And so verse 10, to finish the chapter, says, "And the ransomed of the Lord shall return, and come to Zion with singing, everlasting joy on their heads. They shall obtain joy and gladness, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away." So the words ransomed and flee away occur again later on. We're going to see in Isaiah 51 verse 11. And gladness is to replace sadness across the board in the day of Israel's restoration. And we're going to see redeemed and ransomed often appear in pairs, as you can find in other books of the Bible, like Hosea chapter 13 verse 14. and Jeremiah 31 verse 11. And Lord willing, we will be studying Jeremiah, and Jeremiah 31 will probably take place around Thanksgiving time. And redeemed and ransomed were used to describe God's deliverance of Israel from Egypt. And these terms play an important role in Isaiah's description of the future deliverance from the exile as the new Exodus later in Isaiah 51 verse 10 and 11. And the Lord is the Redeemer as seen in Isaiah 41 verse 14, who will forgive Israel's sins as seen in Isaiah 44 verse 22 and Psalm 103 verse 3 and 4. And so ransom means to be rescued by the kinsman redeemer. And when I say the word kinsman redeemer, it might make you think back to the book of Ruth. And so to wrap up tonight's video, nice and short, we're trying to keep this. We look tonight at what could refer to the highway of holiness as we look at the restoration of the land and of the people. And the chapter opens with the land restored. In verse 3 and 4, we see that the weak people, shows us weak people are strengthened. And I want to go over to Hebrews chapter 12, verse 12. Hebrews 12:12 tells us, therefore strengthen the hands which hang down and the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, so that is lame may not be dislocated, but rather be helped. So I did read verse 13 too. But the point of the matter here is the writer of Hebrews gave an additional application of Isaiah 35 verse 3 to strengthen endurance among Christians suffering persecution for their faith. And I will read verse 12 one more time. Therefore strengthen the hands which hang down and the feeble knees. So even in the time of chastening from the Lord, we should take strength and courage in the Lord, knowing that it's his fatherly love and care that he has allowed and directed the chastening. And in Isaiah 35 verse 5 and 7, it shows us that the sick and the diseased are healed, and we see abundance replaces lack. Let's go to Matthew chapter 11 verse 1 through 6. It says here, and it came to pass when Jesus finished commanding his 12 disciples that he departed from there to teach and to preach in their cities. And when John had heard in prison about the works of Christ, he sent 2 of his disciples and said to him, are you the coming one, or do we look for another? Jesus answered and said to them, go and tell John the things which you hear and see. The blind see, and the lame walk, and the lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. The dead are raised up, and the poor have the gospel preached to them. And the blessed is he who is not offended because of me. So when John the Baptist was in prison, he became discouraged, and he was really wondering if this guy, if this Jesus was the Messiah that he was looking for, that he proclaimed to be coming. And when John's disciples brought this question to Jesus, we see that Jesus either, quotes from Isaiah 35, or Jesus is referencing Isaiah 35. And Jesus has come to bring salvation of God, and that would be accompanied by miraculous power. In verse 8, it shows us the highway to holiness is made for God's people. Isaiah 35:9 shows us the safety of the highway of holiness. You see, God won't need a Department of Transportation for highway safety, or highway patrol, or state police, or whatever your state might call their state level of law enforcement. Jesus is the only way. He is the director of everything. And as we stay on God's highway of holiness, we are protected from the attacks of the lion. And you probably remember I made a comment about the lion. And there's someone that's compared to as a lion in the Bible. We're going to go to 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. It says, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour." And Satan is compared to as a roaring lion, as we mentioned. And the chapter ends with the travelers on the highway of holiness. And I want to finish with one more verse. Revelation 21, verse 4. It says here, "And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away." So verse 10 of Isaiah 35 shows us that sorrow and sighing shall flee. And when we look at the New Jerusalem in Revelation 21, we see that Christ is going to take away all tears and death and sorrow. And as mentioned before, my friend Brian Peckham is doing a study on Facebook through the book of Revelation. And I'm going to end our video right here. I do want to make one announcement per se. So I just found out that Facebook is removing these videos, and I don't know exactly why. I'm going to try something different when I share the YouTube link, because I think that's what flagged it. So YouTube link will be shared by another person named Connor Sample. And I'm going to try having Connor post the link to see what happens in the video. So if Facebook takes my, platform away here, make sure you subscribe to me on YouTube. It's like mmetzger58, I think it is my YouTube name. You can find a YouTube video, or I can send you the link to YouTube as well. So I hope you have a great rest of your evening. God bless, and we'll be back tomorrow night looking at the demoralizing attack on faith, Lord willing. So have a great rest of your evening. God bless.